right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for venturing out on this wet evening to join us for our conversation. Facilities and also the folks joining us from home, we appreciate you as well. So let me kind of talk a little bit about the game plan tonight. I'm going to have a great presentation, put some ideas on there. Got a lot of great questions over the last couple of weeks since the board meeting, which I'm going to be presenting to you. We're going to take some time for Q&A. Hopefully when you came in, you had a card, you had a chance to write some things down, some questions. If not, we'll be back around again, so you can also put some more questions as we get going. I'm going to answer what I can. We have some guest presenters and speakers as well to help answer some questions later on. So that will be the game plan for today. I'm going to be respectful of your time. We're going to go till 6 o'clock. We'll get as much done as we can what we don't get answered tonight. We'll have a Q&A. We'll put that online. We'll try to answer every question either tonight or in the next few weeks or so and get it on that Q&A for everyone. All right, so that's our game plan for tonight. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how we got here. We've been talking here in Canfield since about 2016 with the OFCC on a building project. We created a facility planning committee, and those meetings have been going on since September of 21. We have looked at a lot of reports and assessments from the OFCC, TDA, which is our architect, our pre-bond architect that we hired to come in, handling construction, a gentleman named Jeff Tuckerman. We've looked at enrollment projections over what campus is going to look like in the next 10 years. Also, we look at the finances and master planning. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to put the buildings? What's the cost going to be? Do we do everything all at one time, or do we segment it out? So this facility planning committee has been an amazing group of people, community members, school district people, parents obviously were invited as well. Their big challenge was this: come up with a comprehensive, long-range master facilities plan for Canfield. What does that look like? With the goal always being provide a safe, positive learning environment for our staff and students. Here's a couple pictures of this group. A couple of members here are up on the screen. And if I haven't said it publicly, I'm going to say it tonight. I want to thank those 36 individuals for the time and effort they put into this process. Okay? A lot of meetings, a lot of conversation, but a lot of good people on that screen. So our buildings, our school buildings, as you all know, the two elementaries, middle school and high school, are what we're talking about as far as those go. Here's like when they were built and how old they are. C.H. Campbell in 61, so they're about 61 years. Hilltop, 1970, coming in at 52 years. The middle school, which you are sitting in today, we just celebrated 100 years of age. And the high school down the street, 1966, 56 years. So just some pictures on what we're dealing with across the district. We have some underground steam tunnels. Obviously those things are getting old and leaking. While you're in the gym here, this is a picture here at the middle school on the roof. Basically our issues are roofs, heating and cooling, or lack of in our buildings, foundation issues. You can see here some middle school roofs. Picture to the left and to the bottom right is our high school. The north wall by our kitchen is separating away. And we have some serious foundation issues that we're dealing with there. And a couple interesting terms. Wicking is when water penetrates the brick because of the porous nature and gets in there. And then the term spalling is when that water heats, cools, freezes, thaws, and we have cracking and breaking of bricks going on as well. A couple other pictures, and for those of you that are at home, the bottom right picture is what I'm looking at right here in this gym. We have a significant roof leak, and of course with snow and ice, and probably still raining out unless y'all came in. Those are the issues that we have. So here was one of the first questions that came across. You talked about a new bus garage, but you didn't show us any pictures of it. Good point. So here we go. This is a bus garage, and obviously the main issue down there is the foundation. Crack and brick, you can see all those different pictures of what's going on down at the bus garage moving forward there. So let's talk a little bit about the need, kind of what brought us here. Boards realize the cost of operating and maintaining our buildings continues to rise. We've had a lot of conversation about elementary class sizes, and obviously if we're under one roof, those issues go away, because we have all the first grade teachers here or all the second grade teachers. Something that's really important to me are the flexible learning areas, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but the 4 C's, creativity, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, being able to have opportunities to get that done in our schools, and obviously technology. So here is another set of questions. What is this development agreement with the city all about? Okay, so here's what we have. We are receiving 100 buildable acres at Redgate Farms, okay? 80 acres to the north of Leffenwell and about 20 acres to the south. Next good question. Who is going to pay to get the water and sewer down to our facilities? The answer is very simple. It's not the school district. All right, that's the city's responsibility. However they get that done, that's entirely up to them, but there is no cost to the district. And we have said, I need water and sewer on that property by December 31st of 2024 at the latest. Okay, at the latest for us to do what we need to do. Another great question. What's that area going to be zoned as? And in our agreement, it's zoned as S, which means schools only. So what that means is this. The superintendent would not be able to say, okay, well, thanks, city, for giving us that property. I'm going to put a strip mall there, or a Meijer, or some type of medical building. Can't be done. Okay. The agreement is it has to be some type of school or educationally rated, educationally opportunity type of environment, building, whatever. So, and I totally understand it, and we're good with that. Okay, because that's obviously what we want there. Another great question. People are confused about Redgate being in the township, right? So just so you all know, and probably most of you do, and I'm still learning about Redgate personally, being new here. The Redgate property was annexed into the city. Okay, so it is city land, it's city property, which means people like me that work there are going to pay that income tax. Okay, which is really critical, and obviously this is a plus for the city. Okay, there's about $170,000 a year the city makes on income tax from my employees, and they don't want to lose that money, and we understand it. That's what's in it for them. Okay, but people that work there, they will continue to pay that income tax to the state. So phase 1, new elementary and middle school. Okay, that's our plan, phase 1, to get that building up and running. In exchange for that, we're giving up this building to the city. It's about 9 acres or so. The parking lot that you parked in, and the garage, the transportation garage, which was off to your right coming in. Okay, we're giving that to the city. And here's another important part. I had a lot of questions on this. Mr. Knoll, how long do you have? Here's the agreement. This is all contingent on the bond levy passing prior to June of 2023. So, long story short, we got 1 year. Everything's contingent on that bond levy passing. So, my message is this. We have urgency in our facilities, which are aging, and we have urgency with that development agreement to get it done. Here is the next question. Mr. Knoll, I have no idea where Redgate is. All right, can you help me? So we have some directionally challenged people. I won't mention any names. But Renee, thank you, George, said, hey, give you a little better back here. All right, so, and I apologize for that last meeting, whenever that was. I just gave you a couple of the streets down below. But basically, what I put on there was like the middle school and the high school, and CH is up there. And here's Redgate. So it's on the western side. Okay, it's on the western side of Canfield. And there's 283 acres there all in. Okay, that the city owns. The whole idea that the board has moving forward is a centralized campus environment one day. Okay? Phase 1, let's get the elementary middle there and eventually get the high school there, however many years down the road that is. So, for what we're looking at here with this bond levy is new elementary middle school on that Redgate property and renovations to our high school. And you can see all the things on it that we're looking at doing. Okay? Much needed renovations down the street for that high school building. Okay? And here's the picture that I showed last meeting. I'll put it up there again. as far as where things are going to go, okay, the elementary, middle school, parkings and fields, and our bus garage, okay? And that bus garage is on the southern section, south of Leffenwell. Like I said, where we have about 20 acres or so there. Long term, board says, hey, however many years down the road this is, we want to get that high school down there. That's phase 2. Another question is, Mr. Knoll, when is that going to happen? Well, obviously I don't know that answer. I'll tell you this, we're hoping to get at least 20 plus years out of those renovations. I love Canfield, I love my job. I'm not sure I'll be here in 20 years to help guide it, all right? But you all hopefully will be, probably some new board members as well. But that decision will come to the superintendent, the board, and the Canfield community sometime down the road. Here is another great question. So what are we getting? What's this going to look like? Okay, great question. Here's what I put on here. We're going to have modern academic classrooms. Minimum 900 square feet, which isn't close to some that we have now. Science rooms will be 1,200 square feet. And Chris, if I have that wrong, you jump on it. You tell me, okay? Special ed classrooms as well to meet their needs. A little better design for them. State-of-the-art technology, which, as you all know, I'm very passionate about as well. An elementary school dining room, middle school cafetorium. A cafetorium is very interesting. It's a cafeteria with like an auditorium stage, kind of like what this is right here. We eat lunch here and be able to have presentations as well, okay, at night or during the day. Really neat stuff. Another thing is we're going to have the ability to separate, and I call them pods. There's probably a better architectural term, but so we don't have kindergartners and 8th graders kind of like mingling during the day. There'll be times where they might share some of the common areas, but we'll have a specific elementary area and a specific middle school area moving forward. And that's when it gets fun, because the architect comes in and says, how you want this thing look? It gets a lot of fun at that point. 3 gyms. 2 come with the project, elementary, middle, 2 come. Our committee said, we want a 3rd. And I'll be honest with you, I know why. I'm the guy that signs all those facility request forms with all the people, all the clubs, all the churches, organizations that want to come in and use the facilities. That gym will get used. It can, trust me. And our people on that committee said, you know what, we need that. So we're going to add that on there as well. Kindergarten, elementary school, playground, ball field, nice furniture as well. Are you ready? What's it going to look like, Mr. Knoll? I got some pictures for you. I want you to notice colors. I want you to look at the excitement, the brightness. I want you to look at the outdoor lighting that comes in. A lot of data research says, man, is that important for teaching and learning. I want you to look at extended learning areas. A lot of people think learning only happens in the classroom. Not true. Learning can happen out here. Learning can happen outside. A lot of different venues. Some possibilities. Here's another good example, collaborative learning areas. Okay, and for those of you that have athletes that you travel from school to school, you see this when you go to these other schools that are new, right? I know that. Okay, some of you might work at a district that has new facilities. A lot of our people, though, if you haven't been there, you have no idea what's out there. That's why this is here, just to give you a small little taste. Here's the cafeteria, what it could look like as well. And this is one thing I'm passionate about. At that high school, we're going to get this done. We are going to have secure vestibules when our people come to school. We love you and appreciate you, but we just can't have people walking into our building and you're on your own. You're going to walk in, you're going to go into an office area, a secure vestibule, and then we'll get you where you need to be from there. Okay, that's exciting to me. It really is. And those are projects that TDA has worked on. Okay, I kind of stole it from some of their body of work. So here's the bond levy itself. Tuesday, May 3rd, we're on. Okay, 6.9 mil, $107 million plus, 3.7% interest. Okay, is what we're looking at. That's a conservative estimate moving forward, 37 years. There's your dollar amount again, $107,800,000. What's it include? Elementary, middle school, that additional 3rd gym I told you about. Okay, we added that cost in there. Possibility to put me there, my administrative people, me, treasurer, okay, all those folks. The high school renovations are in there. Okay, the bus garage. And market conditions, site development, those types of things. Market conditions basically says this: if we sign the line today, we're 3 years away. So we got to put money in there like a buffer, because we know right now, whatever you're paying today, you're not going to pay a year from now, probably for a building. So there's a buffer period in there as far as dollars go. A lot of people said this, Mr. No, I've heard something about money from the state, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But in this project, in phase 1, 9.6 million, okay? And I have future credit there, and then the acronym L, and I'll come back to that. For those of you in the community, this is what you want to know, okay? $100,000 homeowner, $20.13 a month, okay, is what's going to look like for you. Let me try to explain this, okay? People want to know about this match. Mr. Noel, when's this money coming? What's it look like? We're in the L program, okay? Expedited Local Partnership. Basically, what this allows Canfield to do is this. We have jumped ahead of people on this list to get funding from the OFCC. The bad news about Canfield is the state says we're too rich to get a lot of money and help from the state. And in their eyes, based on their formulas, they're out. Okay? So by doing what we're doing, we're getting on the ballot. We're going to pay for all these improvements and all these enhancements up front. Okay? When our time comes, okay, and we become eligible for the program called CPAP, there's a possibility we're going to receive that money, that 9.6. I can't tell you when, I can't tell you how, but we're in the hopper to get those monies. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know yet, okay? But that's what that L program means, okay? We're on our own up front, hopefully getting some help on the back end from the state moving forward. Okay, so I'll kind of go down a little bit more for you. I know there's a lot of numbers here, and I don't want to confuse everybody, but I hope this is helpful. New elementary middle school is about that 85 million with additional gym administration, the maintenance, the market conditions. In the middle there, another great question has been, Mr. Noel, what is the board going to do with those buildings, right? So let me walk you through this. As you remember, hopefully, the middle school is going to the city, okay? And we're going to work with the city. And they might want to repurpose this building. They might want to turn it into something awesome for Canfield. That's up to them, because when bond levy passes, it's their building, it's their property, they can do what they want to do. If for some reason things don't work out, and the city says we can't get anything for it, the school district has money in that to abate and demo this building, which means we knock it to the floor, we seed it, put some nice grass on it, now it becomes a nice area. Okay, that's a possibility. The board has not determined yet what to do with C.H. Campbell and Hilltop. Okay, they could repurpose those buildings possibly for something. The board could decide to sell them. I mean, there's a lot of options that the board has. That decision has not been made yet, but there's money there, okay, if that need arises. But I will tell you this, I will strongly encourage the board to not let that building sit shut, because if it does, it becomes an eyesore. Not going to happen in Canfield, okay? I'll say that publicly tonight. I don't want that to be an issue, okay? That's the worst thing that can happen, and I've seen communities where that has happened. That's not what Canfield wants or needs or desires, okay? So I'll work real hard with the board, and I'm sure they're feeling the same way as I am. And then the renovation cost for the high school at $20 million, then you get your $107, $8 million number there. So next great question that came across. Mr. Noel, what are we going to do with the high school? Okay, so here's a plethora of things that we have earmarked with help of all the assessments moving forward on what $20 million all in will do. Okay, and I won't read them all to you, but you can take a quick little peek there. Obviously the big things, heating and cooling. Our parking lot is a mess. Paving is expensive. I don't know if there's any people that do that for a living in here, but paving does cost a lot of money. And obviously roofs are kind of the big ones there. And you know, I'm a little passionate about handicap accessibility. That building is now really ADA compliant, and we're going to get that done too. Okay, we're going to get that done. All right, so why now? What's the urgency? What's going on? Well, reminder, phase 1, new elementary, middle school. There's that match of dollars from the state sometime down the road, posted at $9.6 million. Passage of bond levy is going to help your property values, which will stay strong. I'm going to be honest with you, schools are in competition for kids and families today. Wasn't like that when I was going to school, but it's all about competition. Parents call me, they call other people, they call realtors, they want to know how the schools are, how they look, how they're performing, and we're in competition. Okay, we really are. And property values, new schools help all of that. My number one goal, give all the teachers all the tools that they need to be successful in the classroom. Give them the absolute best learning environment we can for our staff and students. I talked about the renovations at the high school, a lot of safety upgrades mentioned there. And why now? There is urgency, not only for buildings that are in physical need, but also with this development agreement. We got 1 year. We got 1 year for that property. I'm going to ask our esteemed panel to make their way up here, if you guys don't mind, okay? Just want to talk a little bit about our committee, and Dr. Betsy, who's going to introduce herself in a minute, is our chair. Janelle Nagy is our fundraising chair. Marcy Mucko is going to help us with the outreach. I kind of put some things up here to talk about as well. I'm going to ask the folks to go ahead and sit down. Mr. Atwood, would you be on the mic to start, if you don't mind? How about introducing yourselves, all three of you, real quick? All right.
Nice and close.
There you go.
All right. Good evening. Nader Atway, Canfield School Board President. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. I'm Betsy Alquist. I have 3 kids in district.
My name is Chris Smith. I'm the president of the design architecture, the Fremont Architect.
All right. So, Mr. Atwood, how about you be on the mic first? Another great question that came up is, how are we going, how's the board, the superintendent, how are we going to communicate moving forward? So, I put a couple of things up here that we have planned, but I know Mr. Atwood, as board president, wanted to respond to kind of like, what's next? What's the plan? So, you have it, sir.
Sure. So I think the first step, obviously, was today to start our inaugural engagement informational session. And ultimately, what we want to do is continue to do these throughout the community. So we did this today with parent-teacher conferences in mind, thinking that the building would be open. We also got feedback that some people couldn't make it. So our goal is to have multiple meetings, whether in their size or if they're a little bit smaller in capacity. If we do the, is that me? All right. I think a little bit static. All right.
Try again.
Thank you. All right. So ultimately, what we'd like to do is just continue to inform, educate, and answer the questions that are out there. We've heard loud and clear that there are a number of questions, and being able to get out in the community and being able to address all the questions that are out there to be able to have that opportunity for each and every one of you. I think we also want to publish the FAQ, so if there are questions that are all being asked today, those need to be published so that people that couldn't make it today will have a resource to be able to tap into and identify what they may have asked, or so that they're not necessarily redundant. But our goal is to be engaged with the community, inform, educate, and be out there in the next few months up until May.
All right, thank you. So, not too many people can do this, but I can, because my first name's Joe. All right? Just like Mr. Durant. We got a couple of Joe sessions. I see these being real informal, maybe like 9 o'clock in the morning in my office to have people come in and just have a cup of coffee and maybe my cafeteria guy will make us some nice cookies. We just come in and have some nice conversations. So I'm going to start those in March. We'll put some information out on that. And then, we're going to do some home gatherings as well. It's going to be me and, other people on the committee as well, just to have some conversations, as Mr. Edwards said. And we have some fun things involved for Canfield. We have a fundraising activity on Canfield night on 25th. I think it's important to get y'all in the building. I really do. I think a lot of folks don't know. You drive by, which things look awesome. Our maintenance crews do a great job. They really do, of keeping everything. But sometimes when you get inside, you see a lot more than what you see going by. And there's going to be a supportcanfieldschools.com website up and running soon, where you get a lot of information as well. Okay, so let's try to hammer away here at some Q&A. First of all, does anybody have any cards for people to pick up? Just go ahead and hold up the card. We'll come around and get you. I think we have a bunch already, but here are some online. And by the way, thank you for doing that. You guys put my presentation together, basically. I hope I answered a lot of questions, but those were ones that came in, like I said already. And here were some that have come in here lately. So, will grade levels be separated? So, Dr. Betsy, can I have you grab the mic? And can you talk a little bit about that as a mom? The question is, will the grade levels be separated?
So yes, it is going to be elementary. It's going to have a completely separate like entrance from the middle school, so those will be independent. So the kids can be still separate, similar to what it is now from at least a safety standpoint and things. But the nice thing is we will get to have some like shared areas, and so I think that's going to facilitate a lot of positive things with some of the concerns that parents have raised about, you know, maybe not having enough teachers for specials and things. Now we're going to get to basically share all of that under one roof, K to 8. So I think it's going to be a really helpful thing that all the kids can benefit from.
Thank you. Okay, so if this passes in May, when will we start to pay on the bond? So here's how I understand it. When it passes in May, in January, it begins. I believe you homeowners in Mahoney County get your tax bill in March. So in March is when you would see the increase on your property taxes. Okay, that's the answer there. With a new elementary middle school facility, how will transportation be impacted? This is a good one. This is a really good question. I had some interesting conversations with our two transportation folks who are very good, Larry and Linda. If we were to start today and we were moving and transporting people down the Red Gate, here's what I can tell you. We would continue with the two-tier system. Two-tier means we pick up all the elementaries and bring them, and then the other tier is we pick up the middle school, high school kids and we bring them. That wouldn't change. After talking to our folks, they believe that we could keep the start times and end times of our buildings the same. Okay? Because I asked them, I said, well, how long does it take? How much extra? So basically, from the high school to the middle school, right now, it's 2 minutes. From the high school, which will be there, to Red Gate, it's about 5. Okay, so there's a 3-minute difference. And there's a couple of ways to get there. You can go down 224, take a left, or you can go right down Railroad and kind of cut across that way. So 5 minutes-ish with about 2 miles. 2 miles more. The elementary schools currently to Red Gate is about 8 minutes or 3.5 miles. So as they're looking at all this, I mean, one of the questions is, are there going to be more miles on our buses? That answer is yes. Okay, as they're calculating that. Okay, there will be more miles on our buses. I asked them, you know, based on what you know right now, if we moved today and we had to get people there, would we need more buses, more drivers? That answer is no. Okay, so that's what I can tell you after some good conversations with our transportation people. Next one. Specials, gym, art, music, all that are already limited for the elementary kids. How's putting them in a school with more kids going to address the problem? Dr. Betsy, can I lay that one on you too? You ready? Can you have that one? Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I was already kind of thinking of that with the separate entrances and then like more shared areas. So it allows the kids to have a lot more options, and I think as a school, there's the staffing situation we can share more, you know, an art teacher who maybe is only in the middle school is going to be accessible at that point. So, you know, and also along with the gyms and all the even auditorium options for like after school things and stuff, I think it'll be great.
Yeah, one of the great things is going to be able to share staff members. There's no longer, I'm just an elementary teacher, I'm just a middle school teacher. Having all those folks under one roof is going to do some amazing things for being able, what I call share services and share gifts and talents that our teachers have. Okay, how about technology? I'm big on this, passionate about technology for teaching and learning. We're going to integrate that in the curriculum. The man on the stage is Mr. Chris Smith. He does this for a living. Chris, can you talk to us a little bit about the technology and what you guys are doing right now with new buildings?
Sure. So, you know, there's different kinds of technology integrated throughout new buildings. one of the main purposes is that it'll enhance your security. So electronic door locks, triggers, cameras, there'll be over 100 cameras in the new building to provide a safer environment. But I think what you're most excited about, Joe, is the instructional technology. And you've heard the term one-to-one capabilities when you're talking about wireless capacity. Well, we're designing buildings now at 15 to 1. Because if you think about it, a child could have 2 or 3 wireless devices on them at any moment. There's building technology components that also operate off of wireless technology, plus there's the capacity to expand. So I think that's probably the biggest improvement over existing schools.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the last one from our online questions up front, why did the board, so Mr. Attaway, this was coming to you, buddy, why did the board decide to move forward with a, quote, campus setting or environment? How did we get there?
So that's a great question. I think you all saw in Mr. Wolf's presentation that we did have the facilities committee come together. So we weighed a lot of options and took feedback that was out there. But the consensus came back that the campus setting was probably the most beneficial for Canfield. And in hearing what you've heard, the greater efficiencies and the maximum utilization of the space with everybody on one site was going to be more appropriate for the future.
Mr. Biddle, you want to run some questions up to me? Or Ms. English, how you guys want to do it? So we're going to try to tackle some of the questions you guys all presented for us now. Okay, I'm just going to kind of read them, and I'll be a little moderator here. Okay, so there's like 3 on here. I'll do my best. What happens if the May 3rd levy does not pass? I'll take that, and then Mr. Rattle, you can jump in. I mean, to me, if it doesn't pass in May, I think the board goes back and reevaluates. Okay, takes a look at what was offered. Is there something in the project that our voters didn't like, or was there something that they thought we should do different? I think that's the best thing. That would be my recommendation for the board to do. Mr. Ratway, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I think as much as we want to be optimistic, we're also going to be realistic. So we'll be able to go forward with, again, educating and informing. I think knowledge is power. We've always heard that. And at that point, we'd have to determine whether or not there was a gap in us being able to inform and explain to the voters what we needed. And if that is the case, can we work on making sure we address those concerns and then come back to the ballot if possible?
I think I answered the second question, and the third one is, will another levy be placed on the ballot at November? That could be a possibility. Okay, if it did pass, November could be a possibility as well for the board to put that on. Okay, are there meeting minutes from the facilities committee meetings? That answer is yes. If so, will these be made public? I suppose we could, or you could just come in and sit down and look at them with me if you wanted to. If not, okay, well, we do have the minutes and they are available, but like I said, well, there's 1, 2, 3 of us that were on that committee. And another thing is you could just come and ask us as well if you wanted to see what that was. In 20 years, the city could not develop this land. I'm assuming Red Gate. Numerous builders with vast experience chose not to build. What assurances do you have that the previous barriers will not affect this plan? Numerous builders with vast experience chose not to build on Red Gate. Yeah, I guess I don't know what the previous barriers were. I know when I talked to Mayor Duffett, he was concerned about the economics of the times, you know, with COVID and everything going on. A lot of people didn't want to. But I guess I would just say this. I mean, the city is full steam ahead on that property. Full steam ahead, and we're part of it right now. And that's what's exciting for us. That's the best I can do on that question without knowing too much more. When will you ask us to fund phase 2? That's the high school. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball to that. You know, my hope is with these renovations, we get 20, 25 years out of that. But that's going to be up to the next board, next superintendent, and all of you as Canfield as well. I've had some people say, why don't you just build a new high school too? The problem there, and I'll speak for the treasurer, is we have a debt limit. Every school district does. And building a new high school as well would have put us over that debt limit. So that's why we have 2 seconds for phases, phase 1, phase 2. Has a cost analysis been done for repair versus new? There have been OFCC assessments done. TDA actually did an assessment. Hammond Construction did. But I'd be very careful here on the term that was used. It's not repair versus new, it's renovation. Okay? Repair means I'll just fix anything I want when I want to. Repairs are kind of what we've been doing in Canfield. Okay? You know, I could have somebody from, you know, Joe's construction company with a nice ladder in their truck come and fix something. But that's a repair. When we're looking at renovations or new, that's a whole new ballgame. Because now when you renovate to new. Repair is a whole different silo. Okay? Who's next? Mr. Dillon, you got some more? Okay, I'm keeping you on one, right? You guys get the microphone, because I'm coming to you.
I was just going to add,
Please.
repair would be this roof.
Yes. Yes. And it's not really all encompassing. Yeah. Will the Canfield PD still provide an SRO? Absolutely. In fact, they provide two. If you don't already know that, they provide two. And that will continue. I already spoke to the police chief actually last week about that, just to make sure we were on the same page. And that answer is 100% yes. And the better thing is, instead of having 4 buildings between the two of them, now we have 2. And every second counts when it comes to school safety.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Jump in there.
Chris wanted to add more.
Thanks. Regarding the renovation versus build new question, when the state of Ohio comes in and they assess your buildings, they have what's called a 2/3 rule. And that 2/3 rule means if it costs 2/3, or if it's rated at 2/3 what it would be to build new, if it's that or higher, they recommend, as a matter of fact, they won't even fund it. They said, you need to build new because it's putting good money after bad. All of your buildings rated higher than those 2/3 rules. So the state of Ohio first assessed it. Another independent company came in and assessed it as well, an engineering company. We validated those assessments, did another assessment, and then Hammond Construction came in and did it as well, and all of those reports concurred.
That's why he's the expert. Thank you, sir. Why are we putting $20 million in the high school if we'll build a new one down the road? I think is the question. Why not now? Well, it's kind of what I said earlier. There's a debt limit that schools can get into, and by building a new high school, in addition to that, they'll take us over our debt limit. That's why we need 2 segments. Okay, phase 1, phase 2. Will neighborhoods near Redgate have zoning changes? I have no idea. I really don't. I'll ask the right people to do that. I'm not sure. What is the square footage of the building? Mr. Chris, I know this answer. What's the square footage of the elementary middle school building going to be?
Go ahead.
It's a little less than 200 square feet. I think it's 192,000 square feet.
It's 192,000 square feet.
Yeah. Good answer. Good answer. Will staffing levels change since we will be on a campus? Staffing levels. I'm interpreting that as like how many. Here's what I can tell you. We have about 1,500 elementary middle school kids today. If we move down the Redgate, we'd still have 1,500 elementary middle school kids to educate, feed, transport, take care of. All right? So we're still going to need people, even though we're in a different building. Okay? So if levels is, are we not going to need as many teachers or need more or whatever, I guess at this point I would say we have what we have and that's what we're going to need to educate those folks. Have our teachers had input on the plan? Yeah, actually we had, and people on the committee here, Mr. Atway and Dr. Betsy, make sure, I think we had maybe 3 or 4 teachers. We had Mr. Fay, Mr. Kerensky, Mr. Madison. I'm probably forgetting somebody, and I apologize, teachers, if I'm forgetting you. We had administrators, Mr. Lavery, Mr. Rubin, Mr. Vitto, my apologies to my wingman, and then myself as well. So 3 or 4 teachers to answer the question. What will become of CH and Hilltop? Okay, talked a little bit about that already. Mr. Atwood, you can chime in if you want, because this is really the board, but as I stand here today, the board has not made a definitive decision on what will happen to CH and or Hilltop at this point. Anything else you want to add?
No, I would just echo your sentiments, and the board is definitely going to evaluate the options and make sure that we do what's best for the school district. Hey, can I, while I've got the mic.
You got the
There was
mic.
a question you asked, I think you didn't know the answer to, but Chris may. So can you repeat, was that a zoning question you had?
Yeah, the question was, probably not going to find it here, and I apologize. The question was something like, is there going to be different zoning because of the school with some of the neighbors around that area?
And I think Chris is.
Oh, Chris, go ahead, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, the zoning won't change for your existing properties. This is just, it's called an exceptional use, and that's what's going to be designated for just this property. And it's just to do exactly what Mr. Knoll talked about in the presentation, to prohibit other kind of development from happening on that property that doesn't serve an educational use.
Thank you, sir. Next one. Why are we giving money for athletic facilities with Campfield Strong and how much? So we had a good conversation with the Campfield Strong people. They've been working on adding on like a weight room, athletic facility at the high school for a lot of years. And we brought them to the table and we said, okay, here's the deal. Can we work together on this? Okay. We have a lot of folks that are very passionate about the athletic world, as you all know, and they want to see that happen. We've earmarked $1.5 million for that facility. Now, Campfield Strong has done a great job of raising funds already towards that. What I have talked to them about is use all those dollars to buy stuff. The structure's good, but you got to put stuff inside of it. So the conversation we've had is, we'll talk about building a facility, but you got to put stuff in, weight rooms, all that, weight equipment, all that kind of good stuff. So that's the agreement that we have with Campfield Strong. Is open enrollment on the table with new buildings? Maybe I better take that one. Okay. There has been no conversation with the board on open enrollment coming to Canton. Anything else you want to add, sir? Okay. Next. Mr. Bitto, Ms. Ingles, what do you got? When will the new schools open? Dr. Betsy, you want to take that one? And this is exciting. When would we like to open these things up?
We would be ready to go for fall of 2025. So that would be a
Yeah.
first year for everybody.
Yeah. Long story short, it takes about 1 year. Let's say it passes in May. It takes about 1 year to plan. Okay, and that's when it gets fun. We bring teachers in, we bring community in. We start saying, here's what these buildings are going to look like. And then Chris, about 2 years-ish, right, to actually build. Okay, so she's right on with that one. Why are you putting a bus garage in a residential area? Would it be better in an industrial area? Well, that's the property that we have. Okay, Red Gate is what we have. We have 100 buildable acres there. And, I'm a big believer that you need to have that facility real close to your school buildings. And I like that idea. Obviously, the board and our committee did as well, to put it where what I call the action is. Do we follow special rules for the 10 million? Special rules. Well, we would be locked into the ELT requirement. I guess that would be a rule, where we wouldn't get our money until we rose up on that equity ranking list. Chris, I don't know, are there any other? Go ahead.
So that $10 million comes back to the district. If you finish your program or you decide you're never going to build your high school, whatever that case may be, you get that as a check from the state of Ohio, and you can spend that any way you want.
Why not make this project independent of the high school? I'll start, and then people, you guys on the committee, Doc, and Mr. Atway as well. When we were talking, as far as moving forward with facilities, the high school has some significant needs. And that was a conversation we had, and obviously we were able to identify them. through all those assessments and just our custodial staff there. And by not being able to build it new, we wanted to spend some money to get that place up and running and keep it, like I said, for a good number of years moving forward. So that was the conversation I remember. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, we wanted to be able to evaluate what we had, but the high school definitely had some immediate needs. And so I think the original question that came, could we build everything on the campus at once? And knowing because of our debt limit, we evaluated priorities first, and based upon what the facilities committee looked at from an option perspective, the K through 8 was the immediate need, and then the high school could at least have some repairs that were necessary and needed. And then at that point, we could just have the master plan of knowing that the campus style would still be available. So,
You guys are doing good. Good questions here. Were there other alternatives considered? I would say we spent the first 2 or 3 meetings even talking about what's this plan going to look like. I remember conversations, can we build one big K-12 building? I remember that conversation. Is there a way to build on other property? Is there a way to like just make a elementary? I mean, we had a lot of conversations and master plan options since I've been here. I know the board even talked about that prior to me. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add there. Maybe just stick with the committee since that was our body of work. Maybe.
I mean, we looked at a number of options, and I think, you know, the committee even talked about different school districts within the area and tried to kind of identify what was going on and things that looked good and things that were successful in other communities. But at the end of the day, after evaluating everything and taking feedback from the facilities committee, this is what we landed on.
Okay. I got one more in my hand. Give me another group here. To the Shields Road land the school is on. Everybody knows we own some land up on Shields Road. It's like right in front of those, I think they're baseball or softball fields. Here's what I can tell you. There has been no conversation that I've been involved in with the board on doing anything with that property at this time. The school owns it, and there's a home on there actually as well. So I'm not aware of anything happening to that Shields property other than it being owned by the Canfield local school district. Mr. Radway, anything down on that one?
No, I mean, no decisions have been made by the school board on that. And I think a lot of questions have come up as why not build it there? But from a land perspective, it wasn't enough. And I think there was also ingress and egress issues with that property, so it wasn't really conducive to be able to build. You know, and obviously that land was acquired happened prior to my entry into the board, so but no decision's been made with that property.
Yeah, and I should know this, I don't have it in front of me. Shields Road is about 25-ish acres, 25.8 maybe acres, which obviously is not big enough for a elementary or middle school complex either. There were some other issues. I had some conversations with some engineers about how you approach that property from the east as well as far as vision. So there were some other things there as well. I do remember that conversation. So, okay, why move from neighborhood schools? So what's the big deal about getting everybody under one roof? So I'll start and then you guys can jump in as well. For me, it's exciting to get everybody under one roof. All the opportunities, the possibilities, being able to share services from within. All our first graders are doing the same thing. As hard as we try, it's just difficult at times. But to me, that's what's exciting to me, is the opportunity for efficiency, which could mean cost savings, to be honest with you, being under one roof. So I'm good there. Why don't you guys go ahead and jump in?
And going along with that, efficiency and shared areas, I am kind of excited as a mom of, I've got a little one who's getting ready to come into school. There have been a lot of concerns recently from parents about class size numbers, and it seems kind of like some parents think the numbers are high at one elementary or another. And it seems like if everything was under one roof, things could kind of shake out a little bit. They could be evened a bit better. And I myself really love that idea because no one wants their child in a class with, 28 kids or something. So this way it's going to kind of even it out instead of having the two separate elementaries.
And I would just add, as a school board, we're obviously looking at the best interest of the students, and to be able to support the best learning environment that can exist, and being able to, build one campus under one roof, it just enhances everything that we've had. I mean, the school buildings that we have currently we said they were outdated, and maybe the traditional learning environment is advanced now, and so to be able to kind of have this new facility, there's no doubt it's just going to benefit all the students and the administration, teachers. Chris, you've had good experience in this too. I think you could probably talk to it even better.
So there's amazing co-curricular and cross-curricular advantages to having everybody in the same building. But rather than dive into all those, quite frankly, it's less expensive to operate as well. So think about substitute teachers and going, if they're at one building, having to travel across to get to another building, chances are you're going to pay for two subs instead of one sub. You're going to have one central kitchen instead of spread out kitchens, one heating and cooling plant. And what that does, it translates to you is cheaper levies, or even fewer levies in the future.
Good point. Were other sites considered? That answer is yes. I actually met with a realtor and had 4 or 5 meetings with people from the township. It's hard to find 100 buildable acres out there, to be very honest with you. But those sites were considered. But obviously, when the Red Gate opportunity with the city came in, for us as a school district, that was the best place for us to land. Okay, this was a little bit long, so bear with me. This seems like a pressure rush job. The committee decided in 4 months to spend $107 million of taxpayers' money without a lot of public feedback, and now have 1 year to push it through. Have other options been considered, like stages, phases, get longer use of the 2 elementary schools as they are similar vintage as the high school. Let me just say this, there was a lot of body of work done before I got here, and I tried to articulate that early on, which was good for me to learn and understand. A few years ago, the board was about ready to do what we're doing right now, but some things happened and kind of set us back. So there's actually a pretty big body of work that has been done to get to this point. When I was hired, I was just kind of said, hey, let's go, pick all these things up, educate people, yourself, to start being me, and let's move forward. So I don't know if I would say it's a pressure rush job. I mean, there's emergency. I think that's the term that I use moving forward. But there's a lot of body of work, and I know Mr. Wilkinson was on that board, and maybe Mr. Kappa as well prior. If you want to jump in, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would just, in addressing that question, I think maybe people are confusing what it appears to be as a rush job, meaning the timing of what we have from the city, which is June of 2023. But this evaluation and assessment of the school's facilities and buildings has been ongoing. So prior to my being on board, I think it dates back to at least 2016. So rather than reinvent a lot of the analysis that's been done, to Mr. Knoll's point, we were able to take a lot of the work that was done with OFCC, build off of that, and then bring the committee together and take additional steps from an evaluation perspective. The June 2023 piece is where the timing might seem as though we're trying to rush something that's really not being rushed. So getting to this point of knowing we want a campus and knowing where we'd like to go and what type of building created is separate from the timeline is with the city.
And the question about stages or phases, I think that's kind of where the board's at. We have phase 1, elementary, middle, phase 2 being high school, sometime down the road. If the bond passes, what can voters expect in so far as future levies? The district does have renewal levies, as you know. They pop up 5 years or so I know the ones filed, the other might be a little bit longer. So those renewal levies will still continue. We're still going to need help there because that's operating money that pays salaries and utilities and bills and things like that. Those will not go away because we're still going to need money to run buildings, whether we stay as we are or whether we move down to Red Gate. So that those will not go away. Why weren't the buildings maintained? I made a comment earlier that our custodians have done a really good job working as best they can to maintain. I've been here a year and a half, so, I have what I have in front of me. But talking to the custodians, and I see Ed here at the middle school, for 20 plus years, Scott's here as well. Those guys have done a good job maintaining buildings. About 5 minutes, thank you, dear. Just to be point blank with you, 100 years in the building, that's a long time for a building that you're standing in here, for sure. But they have done a great job. Full disclosure, I spent $60,000 this summer to fix a roof on this building because it was in a bad way. And you're looking at a roof I got to fix this coming summer because this isn't acceptable on Canfield to me. Now, is that wasted money? I don't know. But to me, hopefully we're going to be down the street in 3 years. I'm going to have to spend dollars of urgent issues moving forward to help maintain our buildings. So how about we wrap it up right here? You've been an awesome audience. Last question. If the middle school is not demolished, how will the schools assist the city in its efforts to repurpose? Anybody want to tackle that one? I could jump in. Okay. If the middle school is not demolished, okay, how will the schools assist the city in efforts to repurpose? Let me start there, you can jump in. So in the agreement, we're working with the city. So if the city says, hey, you know what, we can't find a deal, we're going to make them and we're going to go down the ground. If the city has a developer or somebody that wants to repurpose this building, and let's say they want to knock down all the old part that's no good and they want to keep a part of it, whatever part that might be, the school district has agreed to assist financially $1 million in that endeavor. The abate demo, which we're going to have to pay if we need to, is more than that, to be honest. But the district has agreed up to $1 million in that situation to help the city financially repurpose this building. So long story short, we're going to spend $1 million to either abate demo this place, well, it'd be more than $1 million actually, or up to $1 million to give the city some help and incentive to repurpose this facility. Like let's say, for example, this turns into a wellness center. There's been some talk about maybe doing that. Can they do that? That kind of thing. So that's our obligation in the agreement with the city. You have been an amazing audience. I want to thank my 3 people right here because I got to be honest with you, this isn't easy. It's not easy to stand up here and get questions shot at you and thrown at you real quick like that, but you all did a good job. Our time is up, but thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll hang around. Yeah, thank you. Give them a nice round of applause. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for everyone being here.
Excuse me, I have a question. How many?
Sure, you know what, if you want, I'll just talk to you on the side here.
No, I'll
Okay.
talk to you right now. How many cards are left over there?
That's
How
it.
many?
Yeah, if you have a question, come on up here. I got no problem.
No, my concern is those cards are previewed. You can sort it out because there's certain questions there that you may not want to answer.
I'm more than welcome to help you to answer any question you have. Come on up here, I'll chat with
And
you.
I'll add to that, and I think we're going to make sure that all the questions that are being asked will publish in a FAQ. So knowing that time was a constraint and that there's going to be more questions.
My concern about FAQ as well as this card thing is you control the narrative. If I have questions about your answers, I don't have a chance to answer or ask those questions. If I don't agree with your answer, I don't have a chance to debate that. It's the narrative is being controlled. It's being controlled right over here as well.
He said he would publish the answers later.
Our goal is to continue to have these forums to be able to answer questions, educate, inform, and engage community members. timelines and time constraints do exist, and so unfortunately, we did hit our hour, but we will continue these conversations, and we are more than welcome to answer questions. If they don't happen to be in a large setting, they happen to be in smaller community forum settings, we're going to continue to engage the community. So that is something that you can be rest assured we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate your time tonight. Have a good evening.